Gaza is the world's warning. Learn it now or become it tomorrow. They took land step by step, treaty by map, war by war. They stacked laws, checkpoints, and settlements until a people who once tended olive groves and taught their children to dream of seasons were left to count the dead. Gaza today is not just a tragedy confined to a strip of land, it is a mirror held up to the world, reflecting what happens when power goes unchecked, when the monopoly of violence meets impunity, and when the language of deterrence becomes the language of annihilation. This is not hyperbole. For more than 2 years the toll has been catastrophic. Tens of thousands killed, hundreds of thousands injured, entire neighborhoods erased, essential services destroyed, and a health system stripped to its bones. The numbers are stark and public. Since October 2023 the reported death toll in Gaza has climbed into the tens of thousands and the injured into the hundreds of thousands, while hospitals struggle to treat amputations, spinal injuries and brain trauma on a scale that will scar generations. How did we get here? The short answer is a century of dispossession and the slow, legalistic erosion of rights. Maps from 1946 to the present show a steady contraction of Palestinian territory, partitions, wars, 1948, 1967, occupation, and waves of displacement that turned towns into ruins and citizens into refugees. This history is recorded in United Nations archives and in the cartography taught in classrooms across the world. It is not an abstract dispute but a documented pattern of losses that produced the Gaza of today. And yet the international system behaves as if sovereignty and humanity can be rationed. Some states possess the ultimate leverage, nuclear ambiguity or confirmed arsenals, and brandish it in ways that chill diplomacy and empower bullying. The doctrine is simple. If I can obliterate you, I can intimidate you. If I intimidate you, I can bend rules, redraw boundaries, and make impunity possible. Israel's long-standing policy of nuclear ambiguity, acknowledged by analysts and international briefings, is emblematic. Ambiguity provides deterrence without accountability, and deterrence without accountability too often breeds license. Gaza's daily reality, children dying of malnutrition and disease, medics killed in hospitals, whole communities without water or electricity, should be a global wake-up call. Agencies report thousands of amputations, tens of thousands of critical injuries, and entire cohorts of children suffering trauma that will outlive the ceasefires in the headlines. The collapse of civilian life in Gaza is a human catastrophe that cannot be sanitized by geopolitical doublespeak. Make no mistake, the calculus that turned Gaza into an open-air graveyard is not unique. Empires and powerful states have, across history and continents, used force and law to dispossess. Small nations and vulnerable populations are the usual targets because the international order tolerates asymmetry. Powerful arsenals, vetoes and international fora, geopolitics that privilege strategic alliances over moral clarity. The lesson is brutal but simple. Power without accountability devours the weak. If your nation has ever been silent in the face of such power, consider what silence cost Gaza. If you have ever cheered the convenience of a strategic partner, while looking away from their crimes, understand that convenience has a price paid in blood. This is not their problem. It is everyone's test. There is a moral arithmetic that politicians avoid. Human life cannot be a bargaining chip in negotiations among the powerful. When ceasefire talks take place while bombs still fall and aid convoys struggle to enter, the very terms of negotiation are skewed by the power that controls access to life-saving resources. The cycle repeats. Pressure mounts, temporary pauses are brokered, the immediate crisis recedes from front pages, and then the machinery that produced the catastrophe resumes. We call these pauses ceasefires. The people who live through them call them breathers, not solutions. What should the world learn from Gaza? First, deterrence that rests on secrecy and selective enforcement is not stability, it is a slow-motion license for atrocity. Second, legalism without justice is theater. International law means nothing without enforcement and without equality before its protections. Third, if we do not treat other people's rights as sacrosanct, we erode the very norms that protect our own tomorrow. To governments, stop choosing geopolitical convenience over human life. To citizens, your silence is not neutral, it is complicity. To institutions, rebuild the mechanisms that make power accountable, impartial investigations, unfettered humanitarian access, and real consequences for those who weaponize despair. Gaza is a city of schools and playgrounds once. It is not a case study, it is the story of real people who are being erased. If you believe in freedom, in dignity, and in the basic possibility that our children will grow up in a world where nations answer for their crimes, then Gaza must become more than a headline. It must become the turning point. Learn this lesson now. Act on it now. Because the grim truth is, power that can erase a people in stages will do so again unless checked. And if you think your country is immune, remember that history is a treasury of examples where today's oppressor was yesterday's ally. Gaza is not an isolated tragedy, it is the world's alarm. Hear it. Respond. Change course.